Good morning. So welcome to First Church Unitarian here in Littleton on this very rainy spring day. Hopefully the flowers will keep popping. My name is Tucker-Barisano, and I'm a co-chair on the standing committee. So this is a really busy time of the year here at FCU, so forgive me, but there's a lot I need to make you aware of, and check Community Matters for the details part. As you know, the auction is going on right now. We have the raffle in the vestry, and we'll be selling more tickets after church until about 11:30 or so, and then we'll do a drawing. The bidding will continue until 6 o'clock. Now, I know some of you may think, I'm going to wait till 5 o'clock. So if you are wanting something in that catalog, you better make sure you're checking the activity between 5 and 6 tonight if you want to get that item. It looked this morning like we were at about 72% of our goal, so keep those bids coming, please. We really want to meet our goal this year. In addition, today, we have at 4 o'clock our sabbatical cottage meeting, and this is an opportunity for you to hear about what the plans are for Reverend Laura's sabbatical that starts the end of January, what the costs are going to be and how that will impact our budget, what the plans are. We have a wonderful team this year, so you can join in at 4 o'clock on Zoom for that. Also, the Caring for Aging Parents meets tomorrow, Monday on Zoom at 7. There are 2 important things that for the future I would want to put on your radar. Next Sunday after church, we'll be doing both virtually and in person a review of the budget, the FY24 budget. So we invite you to that, and of course the annual meeting 2 weeks later on May 21st. Our service today is entitled There's Work to Do, and it's brought to you by RJAC with our own Cindy Malley preaching. So thank you and welcome to church.
What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. Those moments we missed are now these moments we make. The moments we meet and our hearts, once all together beaten, now all together beat. These are the words of Amanda Gorman and her poem, A New Day's Lyric. I would like to welcome Fergus to come forward to light our chalice this morning. As Fergus lights our chalice, let us join together in the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant. to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you, Fergus. Good morning. Just in case you are a bit confused, I'm not Reverend Laura, but I am very happy to be here, and I hope you all are too. My name is Cindy Malley. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve this congregation as a lay leader in a variety of ways. This morning, I am blessed to lead you in worship. I'd like to join with Karen in welcoming you to this awesome place, both here in the sanctuary and through your screens at home. If you are visiting with us, please consider joining us afterward in the vestry for coffee or hanging out in the Zoom. I welcome you all, and whatever you bring with you this morning, your joy and your sorrow, your exhaustion and your boundless energy, your anxiety and your confidence, your silence and your noise, it is all welcome here because you are all welcome here. Our service this morning is brought to you by the letters R, J, A, and C, also known as our Racial Justice Action Committee. I want to thank the other members of the committee for your support, and it is an honor to share my words as our voice. And on behalf of RJAC, I would like to extend an invitation to you all. We are inviting you to read the book, I Take My Coffee Black, by Tyler Merritt this summer. His work will play a significant role today, and we hope you'll join us in conversation about this book this coming September. The book is enlightening, challenging, and very, very funny, so please join us in it. Now, let us return into the spirit of worshiping together as we sing our opening hymn, number 151 in the gray hymnal, with the lyrics appearing on the screens, I Wish I Knew How. Please rise in spirit and or in body.
Thank Thank you. Can you hear me? Nope. Whoops, sorry. Get that right. Now can you hear me? No? All right. All right. Just get closer. Okay. I have a lot of allergies happening, so. This is one of my favorite books. It's called Last Stop on Market Street, and it's by Matt de la Peña. CJ pushed through the church doors, skipped down the steps. The outside air smelled like freedom, but it also smelled like rain, which freckled CJ's shirt and dripped down his nose. He ducked under his Nana's umbrella, saying, "How come we gotta wait for the bus in all this wet?" "Trees get thirsty too," his Nana told him. "Don't you see that big one drinking through a straw?" CJ looked for a long time, but he never saw a straw. From the bus stop, he watched water pool on flower petals, watched rain patter against the windshield of nearby cars. His friend Colby climbed in and gave CJ a wave and drove off with his dad. "Nana, how come we don't got a car?" "Boy, what do we need a car for? We got a bus that breathes fire, and old Mr. Dennis who always has a trick for you." The bus creaked to a stop in front of them. It sighed and sagged, and the doors swung open. "What's that I see?" Mr. Dennis asked. He pulled a coin from behind CJ's ears and placed it in his palm. Nana laughed her deep laugh and pushed CJ along. They sat right up front. The man across the way was tuning a guitar. The old woman with curlers had butterflies in a jar. Nana gave everyone a great big smile and a good afternoon, and she made sure CJ did the same. The bus lurched forward and stopped, lurched forward and stopped. Nana hummed as she knit. "How come we always gotta go here after church?" CJ said. "Miguel and Colby never have to go nowhere." "I feel sorry for those boys," she told him. "They'll never get a chance to meet Bobo or Mr. Sunglass Man or the Sunglass Man. And I hear Trixie got herself a brand new hat." CJ stared out the window, feeling sorry for himself. He watched cars zip by on either side, watched a group of boys hop curbs on their bikes. A man climbed on board with a spotted dog. CJ gave up his seat. "How come that man can't see?" "Boy, what do you know about seeing?" Nana told him. "Some people watch the world with their ears." "That's a fact. Their noses, too," the man said, sniffing the air. "That's a mighty fine perfume you're wearing today, ma'am." Nana squeezed the man's hand and laughed her deep laugh. Two older boys got on next. CJ watched as they moved on by and stood in back. "Sure wish I had one of those," he said. Nana set down her knitting. "What for? You got the real live thing sitting across from you. Why don't you ask the man to play if he'll play us a song?" CJ didn't have to. The guitar player was already plucking strings and beginning to sing. "To feel the magic of music," the blind man whispered, "I like to close my eyes." Nana closed hers too. So did CJ and the spotted dog. And in the darkness, the rhythm lifted CJ out of the bus, out of the busy city. He saw sunset colors swirling over crashing waves, saw a family of hawks slicing through the sky, saw the old woman's butterflies dancing free in the light of the moon. CJ's chest grew full, and he was lost in the sound, and the sound gave him the feeling of magic. The song ended, and CJ opened his eyes. Everyone on the bus clapped, even the boys in the back. Nana glanced at the coin in CJ's palm. CJ dropped it in the man's hat. "Last stop on Market Street," Mr. Dennis said. CJ looked around as he stepped off the bus. Crumbling sidewalks, broken down doors, graffiti-tagged windows, and boarded-up stores. He reached for Nana's hand. "How come it's always so dirty over here?" She smiled and pointed to the sky. "Sometimes when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what is beautiful." CJ saw a perfect rainbow arching over the soup kitchen. He wondered how his Nana always found beautiful where he never even thought to look. He looked all around them again, at the bus rounding the corner out of sight, and the broken street lamps still lit up, and the stray cat shadows moving across the wall. And when he spotted their familiar faces in the window, he said, "I'm glad we came." He thought his Nana might laugh, her deep laugh, but she didn't. She patted him on the head and told him, "Me too, CJ. Now come on." The end.
Our first reading is from I Take My Coffee Black by Tyler Merritt. I approached the crosswalk, and there, on the other side of the street, parked at the curb right in front of the crosswalk, was an older white woman in a blue and white older model Ford truck. She had her driver's side window down, which meant that I would be passing by her open window, and at some point, I would be less than a few feet away from her. And I knew. I knew in that instant because, well, life. I was keenly aware that my blackness is going to be a problem. And at some point, she was going to see me walking toward her. And I knew that she was going to be scared, that I was going to frighten her. I decided at that moment, like I do in most moments, that I was going to do everything I possibly could to keep an old white lady from freaking out. Everything I could. I took the hood to my sweatshirt off to expose my face. I wanted to appear like a black Mr. Rogers. Just taking a stroll through the neighborhood. I took off my sunglasses so she could see my eyes. I took off my headphones so she knew I could hear her. I put on a big smile. A big one, a bright one. I was trying to say to her, I am not menacing. I am not a thief. I am not a thug. I am just me. It's me. It's Tyler. The light changed. As I walked toward her car, I slowed down. I was saying to myself in hushed tones, Black Mr. Rogers, Black Mr. Rogers. She saw me. And her reaction was not at all what I thought it was going to be. It was worse. This woman lost it for real. First, this woman practically jumped out of her seat, her gray hair nearly touching the roof of the cab. Oh my God, she said, terrified like she'd just seen a velociraptor attack Betty White. This woman grabbed her purse from the passenger seat and then frantically rolled up her window. I heard the click of her automatic door locks activating. And then she stared straight ahead at the stoplight. She wouldn't look at me. She tried to pretend I didn't exist. As I crossed in front of her truck, in that crosswalk, I stopped. I looked at this poor woman, and I laughed. I was not laughing at her. I was laughing because I wanted to say, lady, if you only knew.
Thank you, Kris. When we join this church, we are making a commitment. That commitment is not to this building, nor is it to the person standing in the pulpit. That commitment is to each other, to our community. And we demonstrate that ongoing commitment by attending church, both in these pews and online. We demonstrate that commitment by sharing our talents and volunteering when asked. And we demonstrate that commitment by giving financially what we can so that this community can continue to do our work. Thank you for your commitment. The ushers will now gratefully receive this morning's offertory. Please join me in reading our community response printed in your order of service and on our screens. Maybe. We are grateful for the opportunity to give and serve, and grateful for the gifts we have received. May this affirm the ministries of our church community, both within and beyond these walls. Our second reading today will be by Lori Grant.
From I Take My Coffee Black by Tyler Merritt. As I was about to cross, I knew, and man, I just knew that I was going to startle her. So I took off my sunglasses and pulled down the hood of my sweatshirt and took off my headphones and tried to think my best Mr. Rogers thoughts so she wouldn't be frightened of me. But that didn't work. "Oh my God," she said, terrified. She grabbed her purse from the passenger seat and then frantically rolled up her window. I heard the click of her automatic door locks activating. And then she stared straight ahead at the stoplight. She wouldn't look at me. She tried to pretend I didn't exist. It hurts when someone pretends you don't exist. It hurts even more when someone secretly wishes you didn't exist, and they let that secret thought leak out and you see it. Because I've been black all my life, and that happens so much, you think by now maybe I'd be used to it, but I'm not. It still hurts. I thought about that lady in the blue and white color model Ford truck. Why had she been so scared? I think it's because she didn't see me. I mean, she saw me, but all she saw was a 6'2" black man in a hoodie. If she had known everything I had to go through in my entire life to get here, to this moment, all the failures and heartbreaks and triumphs and tragedies that have made me who I am in this moment, in this instant, then maybe she'd know my heart and she'd know all the love I have tried to give in this world. And then she might have leaped out of her car and ran to me saying, "Is that Tyler Merritt? Oh, you brilliant, beautiful black king." And we would have hugged like old friends. But she didn't. So I worked to make myself small for her, to do whatever it took to make sure she wasn't frightened. Because that's what real kings do. They serve in love. I wish that's the way it went down, but it didn't.
Thank you, Lori. Let me tell you about the time I turned myself into the police for attempted kidnapping. A few years back, zipping through Winchendon alone in my Subaru, I saw my 10-year-old neighbor, Andrew, walking along a country road. We were pretty far from home. It was a hot day, so I decided to be awesome and give him a ride. I hit my brakes, pulled up close to him, and yelled, "Get in the car, I'll give you a ride home." He shook his head. "Get in," I hollered. Andrew walked to my open window and said, "I don't need a ride." It was at that moment, with the child leaning into my window, that I realized this was not Andrew. This was a completely random, unknown kid whom I, a middle-aged stranger, ordered to get into my car twice. I apologized and drove off mortified. And then I wondered, what would not Andrew say to his parents? What would I do if Oliver came home and said a stranger told him to get into their car? That's when I drove to the police station and turned myself in. When thinking about this story, I realize that I have had a lot of official interactions with police officers in my lifetime. Mostly I called when I needed their basic assistance, fender benders, minor emergencies, and there were a few times when I needed an actual hero. I was the victim of a hate crime. Someone threatened Ollie's school, and I had a dear relative who died by homicide. Because of these personal experiences, I am comfortable with the police. I, as a white, cisgendered woman, have never thought an interaction with them might kill me. Now, friends, if you are feeling anxious, I invite you to take a deep breath. This service is not about police reform. Instead, I am going to talk to you about how our understanding of the world is shaped by our position in it. I'm going to talk to you about the need for personal growth through empathy and inclusiveness so each of us can expand that understanding. I also want to acknowledge that I am a white person standing in this very white pulpit, intentionally speaking to mostly white people about anti-racism work. For you wonderful congregants, both in person and online, who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, thank you for both witnessing me today and for doing your own work, because we all have our own work to do. There is a privilege that comes with how I appear to the world. If I did not have this privilege, would I have walked into the police station? I am white, I am female, I am middle-aged, I am middle class. In serious situations, I am almost always given the benefit of the doubt. I am believed. That gives me power. It could also make me very dangerous to someone who does not have that same power. Right now, I'd like to share something with you. It is a video created by Tyler Merritt titled, "Before You Call the Cops." Monica and Michael, would you be able to show the video?
Before you call the cops, I just want you to know, the first thing that I did when I woke up this morning was yell at my alarm clock. My parents were raised in the South. I have to roll Tide or they'll disown me. They raised me in Las Vegas. That city still has my heart. I hate spiders. I'm a vegetarian. I'm not proud about it. I've done goat yoga. I'm really not proud about that. I can tell you every single word off the NWA Straight Outta Compton album. I can also sing you every single word from Oklahoma. Bananas are disgusting. I am a Christian. I spend almost every Sunday morning teaching kids in Sunday school. I am often asked if I am Muslim. I'm okay with that. I'm pretty much convinced if you met my mother, you'd automatically become a better person. My father is a veteran. he taught me how to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, to everyone that I meet. I don't hate our president. I pray for him. I love basketball and also hockey. This is my brother, James. This is my brother, Mike. This is my brother, John. And this is my brother, Rob. I've never been to jail. I've never owned a gun. I hate that anyone at all might possibly be afraid of me. I'd go around the world and back again if I knew that single act might make your day better. I'm a proud man. I'm a proud black man. Does any of this really matter? No. I just wanted you to get to know me better before you called the cops. Before you call the cops.
Thank you. Let's take a moment. This video was created in 2020, and it was done with great intention. Tyler Merritt was centered, close, looking right into the camera, looking right at us. He's not even protected by clothing. It's intimate. It's funny. It's like having an important conversation with a dear friend. He was making himself less intimidating, less scary, just less. And he wanted us, who will most likely never meet him, to know him like we know each other. At the end, he asks, does any of this really matter? In the world where I want to live, it shouldn't, but it might. I saw this when it went viral during the protests after the murder of George Floyd, and it made me rethink how I use the police. I have never used them as a weapon, and I don't believe any of you would either. But listening to his words made me think about the power I hold based on how I appear in the world. What about you? Now, I'd like to tell you about the most recent time I called the police. I was walking my dog along a bike path in the early morning. It was below freezing, and I found a person lying on the grass. They were maybe 15 feet away, but lying in the open. I could not tell their gender, their skin color, or even if they were alive. I stood there trying to figure out what to do. They must need help. Would I be making their life worse? I should just keep walking. Is this any of my business? Were they hurt? I saw a puff of breath rise from the figure, and I knew that they were alive. And I also knew that I couldn't pretend they didn't exist. So with a knot in my stomach, I called the police non-emergency number. I tried to make it clear that there was absolutely no danger to me, that this unhoused person probably needed help, and I didn't know who else to call. I waited until they arrived, and I reiterated to the officers that I was concerned for their well-being. Then, because it was now my responsibility, I stood with my dog in the cold and waited and watched and witnessed. It was an elderly white man. I was told they would take him to the station to get warmed up and fed, and then get him in contact with social services. I don't know what happened from there. That morning, I was very careful in choosing my words, and I waited and witnessed. I did not want to inadvertently cause harm, and I was aware that I could have. This video helped change my perspective. 20 years ago, when I started working toward becoming an anti-racist, my understanding of the world was very different. And while I don't believe I ever had a closed heart, I had plenty of harmful ideas to unlearn, and I'm sure that you do as well. I also know that without doing the work, we're all oblivious. Without being clear and intentional, we will never become anti-racist. It's not going to happen on its own. I know why we don't do the work. It's difficult. It requires us to not only look at what we've done, but also why we've done it. Not only what we think, but why we think it. And we might not like what we find. Like the great American poet Taylor Swift writes, "It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me." Doing this work demands our acceptance that not every single thing we think is logical and right and good. White supremacy culture tells us that we should be individualists, but truly, we did not form all of our opinions in a vacuum. They have been shaped by the things outside of us, by the culture in which we live, by our family, by our educators, by our friends, and by our entertainment. Yes, you are all free thinkers. And yes, you are all intelligent, loving, and the most well-read people I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. But you can be all those things and be wrong too. Let me say that again. You can be intelligent, loving, well-read, and wrong. Which leads to this: shame. According to Brené Brown, shame is an intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. That is hard, and it's one you just have to work through. One of the curses of white supremacy culture is an expectation of perfection. In anti-racism work, perfectionism is not possible. In this work, being right is not the goal. The journey itself is the goal. It's the little lessons we learn, the times when our minds shift slightly, the moments of epiphany. Those are the things that will change how you think. And when you change how you think, you change how you interact with the world. So here's a big question for you, my fellow Unitarian Universalists. Why do we, as UUs, need to do this work? We are members of a religion that is not a creedal faith. Rather, we are a covenantal faith. That means instead of demanding your belief in certain things for eternal reward, we have instead made an agreement with each other as to how to live our lives together. Because of that covenant, our focus is not on what comes before this life, nor what comes after. You are not sitting in these pews or watching us on YouTube in order to receive some great reward after you are dead. You are not, I'm sorry, but wait. You are not checking off a box, attended church on Sunday, in expectation that St. Peter will let you through those pearly gates. I mean, maybe that's why you're here. What do I know, right? But that's not the point of Unitarian Universalism. Our focus is the here and now, on what we do today. How are we living into our values? How are we loving into our values? How are we making the world better today? Shifting to anti-racist beliefs and policies is a way we can make this community better. This is a way we can make our faith movement better. It's a way to make the country better and to make the world better. And it's white people's work to do. Race is a human construct, but racism is very, very real. Racism by white people in practice and racism by white people in policy negatively affect Black, Indigenous, and people of color in countless ways that are both obvious and hidden in the details. All of it matters. Living here, we are swimming in white supremacy culture. We are breathing it. We are contributing to it, and we are continuing it. And the more personal anti-racism work you do, the more you will be able to see it. And for all of our sakes, we need you to see it. Because there is an intersectionality to all of this. Racism is connected to the social justice movement you are passionate about. The environmental disaster we're facing is connected to racist policies. Racism is connected to homophobia and transphobia, to economic disparities, educational disparities, access to health care, ableism, sexism. It's all connected. Activism in one area touches upon activism in another. Injustice in one area touches upon injustice in another. Your liberation is caught up in mine. And my liberation is caught up in yours. Our liberation is caught up in theirs. All of our struggles are intimately connected, and we must work together to create a kind of world, a kind of country, a kind of community, a kind of faith, and a kind of church we know is possible. And so what can we, my white identifying friends, do? In his book, I Take My Coffee Black, Tyler Merritt emphasizes this. Distance breeds suspicion, but proximity breeds empathy. He's saying relationships matter. He created Before You Call the Cops to build a relationship with us through medium. Relationships happen when people connect. Understanding happens when people listen. Compassion happens when people develop empathy for each other. Seek out opportunities to listen. Seek out opportunities to build friendships with people who do not look or think like you. Seek out ways to be in honest and responsible relationships with Black, Indigenous, and people of color who wish to be in relationship with you. And listen when they call you out. And while you are building those relationships, partner with other white people and organizations who are doing anti-racism work. Something you could do tonight is pop into the showing of the 1619 Project hosted by RJAC in the vestry. People have done this work before you. Join them. Learn from their mistakes. As an individual, look for ways to grow. Absorb media that challenges you and is created by BIPOC people. Podcasts, books, movies, television. It is there just waiting for you thanks to this miracle of technology we all carry in our pockets. Check out the current discussions of Article 2 within our larger UU association. Attend anti-racism workshops. Read I Take My Coffee Black and join us for conversation. Follow Black-led organizations on social media. Listen to what they need. attend their events, support them, and keep doing the work. When you get discouraged, keep doing the work. You will make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Listen to the voices who call you out and call you into relationship again. Learn from those voices. Apologize. And do the work. Let me end with one more story. It was 1990, and my best friend was Lori, one of only 2 Latinas in my entire school district, and she was moving away. So I threw her a surprise going away party. I took her out to lunch while her friends and family gathered in my home. It's important to know that Lori was dating Glenn, a black classmate from the only black family in my school district. At the prearranged time, I arrived at home with Lori and found the police. An anonymous neighbor saw black and brown families entering my house and called 911. Everyone left. There was no party. I was annoyed at the neighbor. I was annoyed at the police. I tried to convince Lori and Glenn to stay, and I was angry with them for choosing to leave. I didn't get their fear. At that time, I did not understand the actual threat they felt. I did not know. I hadn't yet done the work. Please, there's work to do. You will make mistakes. Listen, learn, apologize, then keep doing the work. May it be so. Blessed be and amen. Please join me in singing our final hymn this morning, 1028. Thank you, Caroline. In the teal hymnal, the words will also be on the screen. It is The Fire of Commitment, one of my favorites. Please rise in spirit and or in body.
Thank you.
Please find a way to connect with your neighbor. Consent is very important. Or you can, this is fine, thank you for asking. You can also hold your hands up, just feel the energy in the room. If you are online, please hold your hands up to connect the screens. I'm going to end the way I started with words from Amanda Gorman's poem, A New Day's Lyric. Know what we fought need not be forgot nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun, for wherever we come together, we will forever overcome. Blessed be, and amen. Thank you.